let me just start. Okay, continue please. And chapter menu. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, hold on, sorry. I just got a Mac. I haven't played with a Mac in a long time, so bear with me while I try to access my PowerPoint. Okay, so hello everyone. I'll get started really fast about who I am so you guys kind of know. I'm gonna minimize that. So my name is Laika. I graduated 2019 as a mechanical engineer. I started working at the Boeing company as well. I got my offer from Great Minds in STEM conference. It's also known as the HENAC conference. It was normally hosted in Pasadena. Now it's all the way in Florida. So if you do want to attend, I totally suggest going to it. As of this year, as many other conferences, all of them are online. So take advantage of that. You're able to get access to everything at a conference in the comfort of your home. So I highly suggest doing that. At Boeing, I work as a maintenance programs engineer for the 737 NG and MAX. So what I do is I make documents for maintenance for any of the planes, specifically for the 737. So if you have to change a filter, you gotta take out the landing gear to inspect it, things like that. You write that in a manual book, and we give those to operators to make sure they're able to do it. The most unique thing about my position is that it's considered a customer support position. So I'm not super technical like what they portray engineering jobs to be. I'm more handling customers and answering their questions about their maintenance on their planes. So one of the biggest things that we're working on right now is actually getting the MAX into service, and also diving in depth of how you take a plane that was in long-term storage and how to take that out. Because we never really had a time where planes were in storage for longer than 3 or 4 months. It's been years, like I think years now that it's been storage. So that's something that's really unique and new for my position and for what my team is working on right now. So another thing about me, I'm from Indiana. I'm not from California. So I came to California to go to school at CSULB. I did engineering classes during that time through Project Lead the Way. I feel some of you guys might have done it if you went to Paramount High, or Cabrillo, I believe, does it as well. As I said, I am a SHIP alumni, but I'm not like a die-hard SHIP alumni because you'll meet them for sure. But I was active enough that I would volunteer and help out with their events. I was a MICE person. They're the same mission and vision as SHIP as well. The highest thing I've done was a region rep. So I was overseeing 13, 14 chapters in the West Coast. In the West Coast, for at least region 2 for SHIP, they have way more than that. So if you do become a region rep, it's a lot of responsibility for how many chapters you oversee. But it's really nice, and it'll get you in touch with SHIP National if you want to be part of that. I also co-founded SACE for the LA Pro chapter and also the CSLB SACE chapter. So I co-founded both of those back to back. So I think 2018 to 2019, that was with CSULB SHIP, and then 2019 to 2020 now, I created SACE LA Pro chapter. And the various organizations within Boeing that I'm in is Boeing Familia, Asian, BAPA, which is Boeing Asian Professional Association, and I'm also in the Boeing Native American, network, and I'm a secretary for all 3 of those organizations. So picture your officer position times 3. That is what I'm doing, along with being part of a pro chapter that I started. So super busy person. The picture here that you see, this is my senior design project. All of you are going to take part of your senior design. I'll go into more of that one later on. If you want to ask me a question, we have time, I'll explain what my senior design project was. But I wanted to let you guys know that whatever you design in your senior design project, you can leverage and use to market yourself when you go into conferences and things like that. So make sure you do a hefty amount of the project. Don't just rely on your teammates to do most of it. Understand the gist of what you're doing and how does that apply to what you want to do with certain companies that you're applying for. Ooh, cannot do that. So this is the outline. So I'm going to start from scratch just to see what I need to cover. If you start from the very beginning of the resume. Add-ons is another thing. Most likely the people who have resumes, this might be something that you would be interested in. How to create an objective. This is a very complex question a lot of students ask, so I'll go over that. Does a GPA matter? And then resume overview. So I'm gonna see if I can pull this up. Oops, wrong one. I need to see the chat if I can see it. Okay, cool. All right. So, okay. So what's in yellow? I need you to put that in the chat box, everyone. So your name and major, a fun fact about yourself, and why did you join SHIP? And for the SHIP officers, this will be a freebie for you guys to kind of understand your membership. So put this in there as fast as you can. I just want to kind of know who I'm kind of talking to, get a gist of who you are as a person, because it's very important to know who you are when you're putting a resume, because the whole resume is about yourself. So just take a couple minutes to answer those questions. The 3 questions after that, I'll ask those later on, because I kind of want to see where you guys are with your resumes. So take the time now to type those in for me. Yes. Fun fact about yourself, do it before COVID, please. Super important, because who you are right now isn't what you really are, because you're locked in a house. So yes, please, a fun fact about yourself, if it's something you do before COVID, please. Oh, awesome, Latin dancing. So I used to go to PCH club with people, ship people.
Hey,
Yes. Oh, um, and I learned bachata and salsa. I did a salsa class at CSULB. I don't know if this counts as Latin dancing. One of my friends is an Aztec dancer. It was pretty cool. She won Miss Engineering, I think 2017, 2016, for engineering week at CSULB. So that's pretty cool. Let's see. Love sailing boats. There's classes that CSUB does for sailing boats. So totally take that if you want to do that. Like, I think they leave like 7 or 8 in the morning just to go sailing. That's pretty cool. Ooh, these are popping out fast. Okay. Beatles. Do you like the Beatles? Is that what you meant? Like the band? Okay, sailing boats. Played ice hockey. Ooh, that's hard. Machine embroidery for fun. I am actually learning how to embroider, but by hand, so not by machine. I like to surf. I wanted to learn how to surf. I had a boyfriend who was teaching how to surf, broke up with him before I learned how to surf. Um, I like hiking. Hiking's bomb. Then swam with Olympic swimmer. That's pretty legit. My boyfriend currently right now, he used to be a water polo, like he used to play it all the time. Now, the people from his team are actually national water polo players for the U.S. team, or I think they didn't join the U.S. team because it was trash. I think they joined a different country. I'm going to the gym. I do not gym. I'm really bad at that. And when I minor in culinary, I actually wanted to not minor in culinary, so I wanted to double major with mechanical engineering and film. They told me that was impossible, so I couldn't do that. So I feel your pain a little bit. I mean, I guess I can't whistle for crap. Third year. So in the comments while I'm reading out, start listing out the 1 to 3 as well. So what year you're in, do you have a resume or not? Ooh. And if you do have a resume, what problems are you facing right now with your resume? Just quickly type that so I can read through it. Hey, there's 2 people here that serves. Cool. You guys should totally link up and surf together. And look, someone else hikes bomb. Working in films. See, we can make a film together. This is why I bought a Mac. So I used to film in high school, so I'm trying to get back into filming. Love 3D printing. Check out Maker Society as well. They are basically a 3D printing organization. Baking and cooking. Look, someone else likes cooking and baking. Oh, look, Alex responding to that. Legit. I used to wrestle. Oof. I can't wrestle. I get angry too fast. What I should put down currently. It's okay. Transferring must be pretty hard. It's a different dynamic, right? I don't know what to put down. That's okay. I have a resume. I don't know what good resume looks like. I can't drive stick. That's a problem that I need to fix. So we got 3rd year. I like to bike and hike. Awesome. 4th year, I have a resume. Not sure where the objective in my resume. Okay. Trying to figure out what to put in. A lot of experience. Okay, great. Yes, I have a resume. I feel like it's a little cluttered. Okay, we'll talk about spacing a little bit. Trouble with wording. If one of the officers, if you can put the link down for the Dropbox for the resume or the link to submit the resume, can you put that there just so that all you guys that are showing up and you haven't uploaded your resume, please do so. I'm gonna access it either through this event, going through it, or I'm going to actually edit it myself and just send it back to you. So I'm gonna do one of the two. Prove a boring looking resume. Okay, cool. I don't list skills. I don't know how to properly write down skills. Okay. Okay, great. Template organizational, quick template. Okay, sorry guys, I'm reading through all of this. I just want to make sure I got everyone. I need to know what to expect better. Adding more related experience. Okay, great. So I got the gist of it. Thank you guys for participating. That was my way of doing an icebreaker online. It's like the worst way to do an icebreaker is online. So let's start from scratch. So this is my resume when I applied to Boeing and got my job. Mind you, I applied to Boeing over 50 times. No joke. I applied 50 times. That's 50 different types of positions I applied to. Most of them were internships. Got a rejection letter every freaking time. So when I got my job at Boeing, this was like purely by seeing them in person and marketing myself. As you can see, my GPA on my resume is a 2.8. It went down to a 2.7 when I graduated. So knowing that resume is super important, but it's not everything. But this is gonna get your foot in the door for sure, because this is what, this is basically you on a piece of paper. So the basic layout for a resume is you need, I'll put an asterisk sign. You don't really need an objective, but people put an objective. So put in an objective. Education is normally at the top. Skill set, I normally put it on the top, but people put it somewhere else. Work experience, leadership, organization, community service. So that's all listed there. Another thing you need to look at my resume is everything is in descending chronological order. It's very important to do it that way so they understand your work history or your project history or your history of your leadership or your history of what you are in the organization. They don't really care what you did in the past, but they like to see that you did something in the past. That's why it's more important to put what you're recently doing now first, because it matters. You recall that more often. Order can vary between students depending on the level and relevant work experience and skill set. Also, keep education on top. Okay, kind of covered that already. So also I wanted to point out a lot of mistakes a lot of people they put their full address on there. Homie, if you drop your resume on the ground, someone knows where you live. Don't put your address on there. Put the city and the state you're in. That helps a lot so they know if you're gonna go, let's say you're applying for Boeing in Washington, you will work there. they got to see if they have to pay for you to travel or not. And if they do, it has it on their resume. So that will factor in if they should employ you or not. I'll talk about putting your GPA on there or not. Normally, what people say, if you don't have a 3.0, don't put your GPA on there. Recruiters told me you have to put your GPA on there if it's above a 2.5. So we kind of know, you're not, because we think of the worst possible thing if you don't put your GPA on there. Like if I have a 1.3, not true. So I guess it's up to your discretion. If you do online, don't put your GPA if it's low, because when they scan for your GPA, it cuts off your resume. But then again, you're already going to put your GPA because they take your resume and they tell you to do input the resume again, but through typing, which is pretty stupid, but you have to do that. So just so you know. Okay, just going into it. So for education, put the colleges you're in. So if you are a transfer student, of course, put the college you were originally at. If you're at a CC or you're at like a different four-year college at a trade school, mind you, put the colleges in there. You just took like a class, but if it's a class that's like relevant, like let's say I took a class on Java, like at a CC when I was like in high school or something, I would put that on there that, I attended that college and then put the Java as my skill set. Just so they know, like, they'll ask you more questions about you. The whole idea of the resume is kind of get them engaged in a conversation with you long enough that they're sold that they want to talk to you more often in an interview. So that's the whole point of doing it when you go to a job fair or like at a conference. The whole point of the resume, you handing the resume, is to get them in conversation with you. So yeah, that's why it's important to put it there. GPA is so cool. So for your college, for CSULB, you have multiple GPAs, if you didn't know. Sorry, that was my phone. So you have your overall GPA, you have your major GPA, and I think you have like a CSULB GPA. So for transfer students, your CSULB GPA is only the classes you took at CSULB. Overall is all the classes you've done. Major GPA is only the GPA factoring for classes that directly related to your major. So it won't include anything from your GEs. I am not sure if it does not include your minor. I am not sure about that. You might want to check on that. So if you have a low overall GPA that's like a 2.8, but your major GPA is like a 3.0, put that and just put major GPA on it. You're not technically lying, you're just putting the best GPA out there for them to see, and you have evidence to support it, basically. Also, you need to put your major that you're pursuing, so like a bachelor's in science, mechanical engineering. Don't just put mechanical engineering, like write out the degree on there. Associate's degrees, also add those on there. Do the expected graduation year. Don't put like, you don't have to put expected graduation. If I see that you put like your graduation date is spring 2021, I don't need you to write expected graduation. I know you're expecting it. It's like next year. So just put the year that you're thinking that you're going to graduate. This is a great place also to put any of your accomplishments or scholarships, especially for the Dean's List. Now, if you have a scholarship that's like outside, like with SHIP, put that like with your SHIP stuff, just so to put them all together. But then again, it's your resume. If you want them to know your accomplishments firsthand, remember, education is the first thing that they're going to see, and that's the first thing they're going to read, then put it there. It's really, really up to you. So skill set, some questions about skill set. So skill set, it's important to put that on there, the actual skill. Don't put like, like equipment names, like the actual actions, like how to set tolerances on like measuring equipment. Phrase it like, I don't know what the technical term is. Use a technical term for that, that bullet point of skill set. Coding languages are a big one that people be listing. Listed there if you know a coding language. I have another way to kind of put that on there later on, so I'll revisit the skill set for coding. Applications is a big one as well, especially applications that possibly, that your employer is going to see or use. If you can see mine. So I'm not going into buildings, but I know how to use Autodesk Revit. I put that there because I knew exactly how to use it, but I only know like the older version, like maybe like 2010 when I was like in high school when I was learning that stuff. I still put that on there. This quality management system software, that type of application, that's used at my internship. Do you think Bowen's using it? No, but it looks good to put on the resume and it fills the space. So put as much skills as you can out. As you can see right here, I put drafting. I can draft by hand. That was a skill that I put on there as well. So they understand that they knew that I understood the inner workings and how a CAD software really works, because I've done the projections by hand and I know how it all works on a piece of paper. So that's what you're kind of listing. Don't just list, oh, I know how to do Excel. Okay, that's great. Just put Microsoft Office programs as a whole, as an umbrella term. You don't need to specifically do that. Now, if you don't know Excel, you should really know Excel. You're an engineer. So these are one of the tools you for sure need, and it will cut your work time in half if you are at least proficient enough to use it on your own for school. Totally suggest you learning that if you don't know it. I talked about old school skills. This looks really good for older hiring people, because this is the language they know for sure. And if you know how to do it and show them that you know how to use some old stuff like that, they'll like you a little bit more, because that means you can kind of help them with the you'll know like the old stuff. Let's say that they're using like old programs for certain things. They don't have to teach you. You already know what that is, and then you know the new stuff that you're going to learn like with everyone else. So make sure you list those. It shows that you understand. Okay, I already explained that. List skills that are not equipment. Like I said before, put soldering, not a soldering iron. Thank you for listing your equipment. You're not an equipment. You're talking about your skills. So if you know how to solder, put soldering. Do I have any questions about this slide before I move on? I know these are like the most important ones. Let me find a chat.
I had a question for GPA. How hard can we round? Like,
You shouldn't round.
like say, oh, okay.
You can't.
Because then I was like,
it's like the first.
Even if it's like.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, we're gonna say my bad. We keep cutting each other off. I was gonna say like even if it's like a like 4 point. I mean like a 0.429. Is it like too much to like round up to like 0.43?
Just write it all out.
Oh, okay. All right.
You just don't want to be caught up. Like, I don't know how anal, your recruiter would be. Like, there's some that are like, hey, you just lied on your resume, and others like, oh, you rounded up. That's okay. Like, you just don't want to really lie. So I would just write it out.
Okay.
So I said, I was told by an engineering teacher who worked at Boeing for 12 years, said that it's good internships are worth a lot of A's. What do you think? So internships are important, and grades are important too. I had this talk with someone when I was like stressing before I got my Boeing internship, because I made a battle plan for my last year. Like, I have to have a job lined up. I couldn't not go with life without a job lined up. So the problem I was facing, my GPA was low because I'm not very technically inclined. It's laughable because I'm an engineer. But I didn't have an internship experience yet. So if you have really bad grades, that's the time where you really need to buckle down and really find an internship. If you have good grades, that's great, but you need at least 1 or 2 projects in your resume to kind of showcase that you know what you're doing, especially if you want an internship. You can't rely on senior design because that's when you're a senior. So you got to look into projects that you could do for a semester or for a whole year. So they're both really important, but you got to balance out your resume. So it's kind of like it varies between person to person, if that makes sense. For me, I needed at least 1 internship. I only was able to get 1, and I got into Boeing. And I was able to articulate my classes a little bit better, even though I had a bad grade, which was kind of messed up because it was a behavioral interview, and they asked me questions about my class, like draw the graph about, what was it called? Oh man, it's been a while. It's like draw a graph of like the elastic of a metal or a plastic, and I had to explain the diagram like that. Like, at least I understood that in that class. and I was able to explain it to him. So make sure, like, side note, like if you put something that you're good at, especially like if you knew, or like if you work in something, please know what you're talking about, because when you put that on the resume, that makes them think that you at least know something to give them an accurate feedback than saying I don't know. If you can say more than I don't know and you're not BSing, you know, you kind of pass the test. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going. So that's here. All right, so work experience. This is how you're supposed to lay it out. So as you see, my resume is missing something. So you're gonna put the company name, the highest position you held. I did not list that. And then put the month and put like the time frame that you were working there. So you don't have to put like the date you've added it, but put kind of like the month that you started and the year to like when it ended, or if it's currently, just put currently. Here, each bullet point states what you did, not what your team did, not what your company does, not what project you're in, describing a project. No, don't write those. Write what you did. So let's say you're in a project. Let's say you're making, there's one at school, you can make a, what's it called? A concrete canoe. So you could put that there. For competition on concrete canoe, I did this, basically, is what you're gonna write. Don't write about what the competition is. Don't write about, you know, what it was. Don't write about that your whole team won. Well, yeah, write if your team won for sure, but don't write irrelevant things that aren't pertain to you, basically. So, but make sure when you write it out, the first word is an action verb. So right here is like a clutter of different action verbs to use. This is just kind of stating like what you basically did, and when you read it, if I can go back. Can I go back? When you read it, it just sounds nicer, and it's a quicker read. So I like co-coordinated and led and judge a competition during Mesa Day. You know, that's something I did. I tutored elementary school students. You know, these are pretty, I have basic bullet points, so totally don't go as simple as that. Try to make it sound smart. But yeah, so that's how you're gonna list your work experience. Make sure recommend past tense. I recommend putting everything in past tense, even though you're in the current position. The whole idea when they read a resume is to read it through quickly and efficiently. So when they have action verbs in the front, when your spacing is right, when everything's in the same tense, you know, they're not tripping up, they're skimming and they're reading through as fast as they can and dictating, you know, if they want to hire you or not. That's the whole point. So that's the reason why you need to do all those things. Any questions on work experience before I move on? You can talk without using the chat. Okay. So the last few things that are on my list, I kind of split them up to, you know, put more, to fill more space. You can put some of these together technically. So organization, list organizations that you're a paid member. Just because you show up to SHIP events doesn't mean you're a SHIP member. You are not a member until you're a paid member or you are considered within their membership. So if any organization has paid dues, pay the dues. And that's how, you know, then you technically are able to put that on your resume. If you're involved with the organization but not a member, put it under leadership and community service. So that's what I did. So if you saw my resume, I helped co-lead a SHIP event, but I wasn't a member or an officer. I just helped move the event along during the day of. So I put that under leadership. I didn't put that in organizations because I wasn't a paid member that time. Next one is list positions you held in those organizations. So if you had multiple positions, make sure you list them in descending chronological order. If you could, especially like the big ones, like if you handled money, like as a treasurer and stuff like that, that's really important. If you're applying for a position that tells you to talk to people and stuff, if you were like a communications director or like you were in charge of overseeing like workshops, I highly suggest putting those because that gives an idea for them that you were, you know, in the leader and those types of stuff. Or you can wait and just put that in a leadership position. It's really up to you. Another thing that I personally would like to say when you put your duties, list something that you did that no other person did. That's kind of like a goal I always had when I was an officer for organizations. I always did something that different that no one else did. So like for Maya's, I made my own officer position because I started a junior chapter at a high school. When I became VP, I started Maya's alumni night to bring alumni here every year, and that I did raffles and stuff like that. So that gave us money from actual alumni feeding into our major event, for outreach event, our major outreach event. There we go. So for those who are officers, try to see what you can do this year that's totally different from other officers that will elevate your organization. Because you're not there as an officer just to ride it out and have that name. You're there, to elevate the organization, to give better feedback to students and stuff. So that's just my take on that. If you want to work in the organization that's directly involved into you, like I said, you can put that in the organization or you can put that in academics. It's really up to you how you want to phrase it. For leadership, list your leadership positions that you held in college. I technically wouldn't include high school unless you're a freshman and you're trying to apply for a position as a freshman, like a what's it called, internship. So that's the only time I would put that there. Again, all this resume is about you, so don't talk about the event that you were doing or anything like that. Like, just talk about what you did for that event. If you have like something like you helped organize an event for 200 students, have like some of those like things that kind of showcase, how big was your event, or how big, how much of an impact was your leadership was. And the community service is on the bottom. Most of my community service was through the organizations I was in, so I didn't really have that. But if you are heavily involved with your church or anything else, totally list that on there. I also put on the side, these are all kind of interchangeable because they're kind of all the same type of thing technically. So make sure you don't repeat some of the same things. So if you're gonna write your duties as like a treasurer, don't write that in leadership. Like, you don't need to do that. There should be on the bottom resume unless you don't have enough work. As you can see, I didn't add projects. For sure, if you have 0 work experience, projects is your best friend to kind of showcase that. There's already projects being paid for. There's already projects that are happening in various organizations that you can join. You can also do projects that are like, with actual professors and actually joining them. If all you have to do is at least do one project, I would say, within your whole career, besides your senior design projects. That's my advice for that. Is there any questions before I move on? You can talk. Okay. All right, so now going back to add-ons. Remember for those people I said for like coding languages or even like your skill set, one big thing that I've been seeing on resumes, and it's pretty dominantly big for like CS students, they put a skill bar. And they usually code this in Excel or something, and they put how proficient they are. So they be saying like, oh, I'm 70% proficient in this, I'm 80% proficient in JavaScript. Usually, I would say you're 100%. I would say you're 100% when you got a certificate. Of course, you could be super proficient without getting a certificate within these coding languages. If you want to fill the space as well and you're a CS or computer science student, get a certificate. If you're a type of person who loves coding, but you're like an electrical or you're mechanical, try to get a certificate. It costs money for sure, but it just looks really good. And you get, I think that certificate, it does expire technically. So, but it looks really good when you put on your resume that you have you're certified in a certain thing. Another thing, as you can see, I actually do put a QR code in my top of my resume. This is linked to my LinkedIn. If you don't know what LinkedIn is, it is a professional Facebook. It's basically like Facebook, but you don't put pictures of your dog or anything. You put pictures of outreach you did or projects you're in or contacting professionals. This is what professionals see you, and they also kind of grab you if they want to, like, have you apply for a position or something. I've got offers through LinkedIn and stuff like that. So if you haven't done LinkedIn yet, totally get on it. QR code it, put it on there. Because my face is on LinkedIn, my face is not on our resumes. As you can see, our resumes are kind of different from like liberal arts students. They don't want to see your face on a resume. But this kind of link puts a face to my name, and they're able to kind of explore through and what I've been doing and how active I was on LinkedIn. I am not active on LinkedIn, but they get to see all the stuff I did on LinkedIn. Is there any questions before I move on? High school internships. Yes, if you did a high school internship for a big name company, put that on there. If it was like, I'm trying to think of another internship that shouldn't really be on there. I'll just say if you have an internship and it's a well-known type of internship, like a high school internship, like a Boeing or Raytheon or Northrop, things like that, totally put it. I'm more questioning on the internships that are like local, because I don't think a lot of local places do internships. But if you did have internships, totally put it. Any internships listed on there. Any more questions? Okay, cool. This. So how to create an objective. So this is how I broke it down. To obtain a blank at blank to work with blank with my experience and skills in blank. So the first thing you need to put on your first blank, mind you, this is all in like technically in 1 to 2 sentences. You have to fit this all into 1 to 2 sentences. 3 is like okay, but it's kind of frowned upon. And then you have a paragraph, you just missed the whole point of what an objective is. So for the first one, you have to put the position you're applying for. If you have a rec number, put the rec number. These objectives, if you put that in there, as you see how I phrased it, are normally done when you're applying for a certain position at a certain company. Usually when I go to a job fair, I remove my objective altogether. I don't put it at all because, you know, I'm going to hand this to 20 different people. I'm not going to, you know, cross it out while I'm mid walking through the job fair to say like, oh, you know, this objective doesn't apply to you, but I want to apply for your company. No, don't do that. So you kind of need like 2 to 3 different resumes, one with your GPA, one without a GPA, one, you know, for conference season when you're walking around, one for the specific positions you really want. Sorry. And name what you're generally looking for. So internships are full-time. So when you put this, I'm applying for the mechanical engineering internship, in parentheses, rec number this. That's what's going to be for number 1. Next one is what's the company you're doing. Like I said, don't give a resume with a different company's name, then they won't hire you. Like I already talked about the general resumes. So yeah, put the company there. For number 3, company projects or types of projects you want to be involved in. So I know you're looking for a job. Just don't apply to a random company not knowing ish about that company, because what's the point of you working there if you don't give a crap enough to research that company, right? So look into what they're doing. What projects are they getting into? What kind of, you know, what location are those projects happening and stuff like that. So like for Boeing, for the commercial side, a lot of the manufacturing is happening in Washington, especially the engineering design is happening in Washington. SoCal is known for satellites. We're also known for a little bit of the research happening in Huntington Beach, the Seal Beach, which I work for. All engineers, all customer support, they all help those people who buy our planes, you know, maintenance their planes or give us feedback on our planes to tell to the engineering design team. And then you got Texas that does like manufacturing. You got St. Louis that does like the what's that called? They do defense. So you kind of need to get an idea of what you're applying to and kind of what's at what, because the positions you apply to that are maybe locally, that might not even be what you really want to do. Like for those who are freshmen and sophomores, if you have never been to a conference or a job fair, start asking those questions to the companies you're interested in. Talk to like a recruiter like, hey, you know, I want to work at your company. I was wondering, I like to do these types of projects. Where would I go to do those projects? And that will help you, you know, for the next time you want to apply for a job because you got, you know, a little bit of background. And the last thing, what experience or skills can you apply to these projects that you currently have? So what do you currently know now that's going to benefit, you know, the company when they hire you? Because they're not hiring you to help you out. They're hiring you because you benefit them, just so you know. So Make sure you list skills like I'm a pretty good catter or something like that. Or list this, or like the skill set stuff you might have had, you can list it there some as well. Sorry. Um, so the objective, it has to be that 1 to 2 lines have to be impactful. Another thing about resumes, kind of side topic, but within this topic, if you're applying online, they actually scan your resume and even the things that you type in for like what you did in each position with key terms. So if there's a position that's listed on the website, look at their key terms and put those key terms into your resume. And what's a perfect place for those key terms as well is within your objective. So if they're asking for certain skill sets like lead, was it like, I don't know, like other like key stuff that they're writing down, make sure that's in there. And you can also put that on your objective. It just looks so good because they know exactly that you read, the job description and you really want that position. Is there any questions about objective before I move on? I know this was like a big question for a few of you guys. All right, so while people are typing questions, has the school posted the companies attending the career fair this fall? I am not sure. That is something for you guys to ask your officers. If not, CSO, COE, what is it called? Facebook page. They're usually really good at posting up when there's what's happening at the job fair and stuff like that. You can also see that on the career link. It will actually list out the companies that are there as well if they are already posting about it. How long did you say the objective should be? So if you can put it in 1 sentence, great. 2 is okay. 3 is kind of like it's a little too much, and then 4 is already a paragraph. That's not an objective. So you got to put it into 1 to 2 sentences. Any other questions? Okay. Okay, so I think I already touched on the relevance of and of a GPA. Should I go over that, or did I really told you guys all about that? Because I know that was on the agenda. I just want to make sure you guys all know the relevancy of your GPA. You guys are all good? Okay. So I think I'll try to go through them. There's a lot of resumes, and I don't remember everyone's name. So I might regrade some of you guys's that I already gave feedback for. But I'll try to get that all done. Let's see. Hopefully by the end of this month. So I'm praying. When is the SHIP conference? Does anyone know?
The last 2 weeks of October. But we have like a link for the video, so then like you can kind of like see like who you already like critiqued, if that kind of saves you time. Okay, so I'll try to get that done before at least the SHIP conference. I'm assuming all of you are planning to go to that one. I think GMIS or the HEMAT conference where I got my internship, I think that's middle of October. So I'll try to make sure to get that before October starts, so you guys can actually try to utilize that. But if you are able to change up your resume just from the feedback I've told people, please do, and I guess resend that to me. I'll put in this chat my email. So this email is used for students, so don't laugh at the name. Okay, so feel free to email me your newest resume if you do make changes before I get to it. You're welcome to also hit me up for any questions you might have. Since I don't really know all of you, please don't use me as a reference on applying for jobs unless you know me or ask me. That happened before from another student, just name dropped me. So I wanted to at least say that. It's right there. It's in the chat, my email. Sorry, I'm answering questions. But yeah, so just feel free to asking me any questions. If you need help with anything, totally feel free to ask and reach out. I have a lot of PowerPoints, so not just from resume, but for interviews, for dressing for conference, how to utilize your conference experience. anything in professional development, officer development as well. I have PowerPoints for that. So I do this for fun. So I'm willing to help all of you guys. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me right now, or we'll be done.